I want to first start this video by thanking you guys. Without your support, all the comments, all the subscribers that have been rolling in since I really just started to focus on this channel only 7-8 months at this point, I wouldn't have been able to be invited as press to cover E3, the event that just took place only a week ago. I applied for my press badge on a whim, really. I was just curious, maybe what it would take. But they clearly saw the same potential in me that you guys did, which is why I have really enjoyed your support. This was my first trip to E3, and I really enjoyed getting to see the big booths, all the gamers, and watch the panels live in person. Events like E3 really have to be experienced in person, and this won't be my only time covering an event. In fact, next month I will be at RTX in Austin, which is the Rooster Teeth event, and then PAX Prime near the end of the year, which is sometime in August in Seattle. As I get more and more practice, I will work on covering these events more efficiently and finding better ways to help you guys digest the new gaming content, and try and do it in my own way, because I know that's why you guys come to my channel. Anyway, so back to E3, which is what this video is going to be about. This video will serve as my sort of off-the-cuff thoughts on the E3 event, and it won't be a very long video, as it will only have my condensed thoughts. The difference between an event like E3 and say PAX or RTX is that E3 is a primetime event, meaning all the big dogs are going to show up with huge booths and massive budgets and showcase their blockbuster trailers and new titles, while the smaller companies struggle to come away with more than a few booth spots. Not to mention, it doesn't really have a LAN focus at all, so there's very little in the ways of the layman, like me for example, has a chance to participate in any small tournaments for a few bucks or peripherals, which is a bummer. I really enjoy things like at PAX you can do little bring your own computer tournaments or even just have tournaments in old games such as like Halo 1. But this was the first year that they opened E3 to the public, so it's possible that this is something that can change over time. That being said, E3 certainly was a spectacle. Massive booths, actors dressed as characters like Crash Bandicoot, orcs walking around, tons of game stations to play the yet-to-launch titles. We got a view of panels face first with people such as the director for the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, the team behind God of War, and even the Big Show talking with the lead developer from Destiny 2. It really did have that big show feel. What games I think you guys should look out for? My biggest takeaway from E3 2017 was that it was the year of the sequels and continuations in different series, long-running series in fact. This meant that this year's E3 was full of games like Destiny 2, God of War, Assassin's Creed Origins, Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, The Evil Within 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, another Call of Duty, World War II now, Metroid Prime 4, and Mario Odyssey were the games that garnered the most attention from E3. Both with some of the biggest booths and fan bases. And those are certainly games that you should check out if you enjoy the different franchises especially. Though I'm sort of personally against blindly supporting sequels of my favorite genres or franchises because I don't particularly think late-stage sequels are done in good taste or quality really. I would say out of those games that I mentioned, Mario Odyssey was probably the most innovative, with now offering what looks like an open-world Mario game, which certainly has people excited. Likely most shocking to fans, though, was the teaser of Beyond Good and Evil 2, which would be over a decade after the first game, which was a cult classic. I probably will explain the significance of the first game and its possible sequel in another video later this year, but I'm not entirely sure yet. But the good thing about E3 this year was that it wasn't entirely about old franchises. We did see some new franchises, biggest being Anthem, who has the old writer of KOTOR 1, Drew Karpyshyn, working on it, and, well, what some people refer to as the A-team at BioWare. Apparently BioWare was working on this project while Mass Effect Andromeda was running at the same time, hence what some people perceive the dip in quality in that game. Back to Anthem though, the gameplay looks awesome, as do the visuals, but let's wait and see before judging anything more than that. We also got to see an existing franchise, Dragon Ball Z, find its way into 2D fighting games despite having a mostly 3D fighting game base throughout its history as a series. Although Dragon Ball Z is an older franchise and it's certainly not new, I find its venture into 2D fighting games to be a rather new for the franchise, and exciting for the fighting game community, especially when the biggest complaints about prior Dragon Ball Z fighting games have been the camera. Lesser known games, I think there's a big focus on big budget games, of course, because they have the bigger platforms. But were there any smaller companies hosting booths or showcasing games that I also found interesting? Absolutely. The most interesting one that I found was Preda Vendetta Rising, which was an, I'll bet, odd mixture of a PC game played with a gamepad, possibly keyboard too, with a virtual reality touch. Upon playing the game, we had to wear Oculus Rifts and use a gamepad to control our character. The Oculus Rift was essentially there to control your camera, so in essence, the camera in the game was you looking around. You were the camera. I found it to be an interesting premise, though I'm not sure how viable it's going to be in terms of price point, as well, if you need virtual reality glasses, which are very expensive, in some cases more expensive than consoles, I'm not sure how many players you're going to end up having, playing a multiplayer game of that sort. I also got to see Agents of Mayhem, which is from Volition Games, the creators of Saints Row, and the gameplay looked fun, exciting, and it had an interesting premise where if you played through the game with 3 different active characters, you could switch at any time, and you had different abilities, tactics, and personalities with the characters. It looked like good Saints Row fun, though my interest in the game greatly waned when I was informed that it was single player only. Still, if a mission-based shoot-'em-up, goofy Saints Row style game is up your ballpark, I would keep an eye out for Agents of Mayhem. Indiecade had a presence at E3 as well, where we got to solve some cool puzzles, watch and play some visual novel style games, and etc. We played one in particular called The Herald, which had superb sound quality as well as voice acting. Might be a game to watch out for, as it'll probably be one of those that are less than, $15 to $10. E3 also had tons of technology on full display as well. We saw some sort of mocap jumpsuit that could be used for rudimentary gaming, say for example, Running Man, where you jump and duck up and down. It was sort of bizarre to see in action. We also got to see a TV screen that allowed for 3 different show perspectives at the same time, or at least showed 3 different perspectives at the same time. It was like the equivalent of having 3 split screens on the same screen, or maybe one's watching TV, the other one's playing games, and the other one is, watching a movie. It was sort of weird to hear in theory. I had to go check it out once someone told me about it, because I didn't really think it was a real thing. But it certainly is, and I was surprised that the quality was a lot better than I thought it would be. The biggest takeaway from E3 in terms of technology was VR. This was probably the year of virtual reality. There was tons of stuff. Most of it early technology, and certainly no virtual reality game that I really see that I was like, wow, this is going to be the future of gaming. But you can see certain looks into the right direction. Say for example, back when I was talking about the Preda Vendetta Rising game, or even some other shoot-'em-up games, where you can definitely see potential. But I want to say that VR technology is still very much VR technology. I don't necessarily consider it this big aspect of gaming yet, but who knows? Technology is certainly advancing very quickly, and we could see something in the VR space that makes us all very excited to play in maybe the next 2-3 years. Who knows? A more personal game for me, mostly flying under the radar, is probably the new HD remake of Final Fantasy XII. It's called Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age. It's looking great, and it's incredibly impactful to me because I lost my progress playing the game, the original game, when my old hard drive crapped out because I was playing it on an old emulator, and I've been looking for an excuse to get back in there and finish the game, as I never got the chance to. It looks great, and I'm kind of a sucker for remakes, especially the HD kind where they add content. I did enjoy the Final Fantasy X remake, for example, on the PS Vita and the PS4. But to wrap up this video, I of course enjoyed my time at E3, but after leaving the event, I didn't have many games that particularly stood out to me as being something that I was really excited to play. Maybe that's me becoming more cynical in my older age, or possibly just having to deal with tons of broken promises, or maybe even just me taking these critical looks at gaming that I've done more recently with my content. But there's definitely a bunch of games on the horizon that could possibly end up being something more exciting. We just have to wait and see more. I really want to tell you guys that although E3 is super exciting, it's great to see all these trailers, I would wait before you pre-order. Really look and make sure that this is the game for you. Watch the gameplay, don't be fooled by the bells and whistles. Make an educated purchase. That's all I can really give to you guys, but that's me off my high horse, and this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Once again, thank you for the support. Without you guys, I wouldn't have been to E3. I'll be to RTX next month. I will go to PAX Prime by the end of the year. I'm willing to meet any of you guys there if you guys want to hang out or say hello. And I will have more coverage of that sort of stuff. I have my next Death of Game video coming out within a week, and that will be on ArtGauge, so that will be exciting. And I also have signed my editor officially, so we will have good editing for the duration of this channel. And I hope that we can keep giving you guys the type of quality that you want, and our quality is only going to improve at this point, especially now that we have a very structured approach in how we're going to approach things. And yeah, so that's me just making this video longer than I should. Thanks for watching, guys, as always, and nerdSlayer out.